Everybody, I'm Adam.
And I'm Jackie.
We're here with So Wizard Podcast. This week we're going to be talking about 2015's Creed. Creed, if somehow you don't know by now, is the half sequel, half reboot to the Rocky franchise. It stars Michael B. Jordan, Sylvester Stallone, and Tessa Thompson. Creed was directed by Ryan Coogler, who has worked a lot with Michael B. Jordan, has made some really great movies. Let's jump right into it. Jackie, what did you think about Creed? What were your initial thoughts?
I really liked it a lot. I had never really seen the Rocky movies, like the originals. I hadn't had a really long history with them like a lot of other people have had. I watched them for the first time, really loved them. I mean, they're very 80s, but I still really liked them a lot. And then I felt like this one had a really good mix of the, Rocky kind of like, I don't know, what would you say, like cornerstone things that make a Rocky movie, you know what I mean? Like the montages, et
Like
cetera,
a typical
et cetera.
fight movie.
Yeah. But then it also did some new stuff too. I thought it was good.
Yeah, nice modernization of it. It was essentially the same story, just a couple things flipped around.
Yeah.
The plot, we'll do a quick rundown. Follows Adonis Creed, who goes by, I believe, Johnson, a generic name. In his fight career, he's been doing a lot of amateur fights in Mexico. But being the son of Apollo Creed, the illegitimate son of Apollo Creed, he is living with Felice Rashad, I forget her character's name in the movie, Apollo's wife. She finds out Apollo had this kid outside the marriage, feels bad the kid's in the system, adopts him, takes him in, so he has everything. It's kind of the opposite of the underdog story, where he really should be nowhere near fighting. He just decides he needs to do this. He needs to live up to his father's legacy, but he also wants to do it on his own. He does his fights. He falls in with Sylvester Stallone, kind of convinces him against his will almost into training him. Stallone still has the bug, even though he's been out of the world. He decides, okay, I'm going to help this kid out. He's going to do it with me or without me. It'll make things right with Apollo. Let's go for it. What did you think about Michael B. Jordan in the lead role?
I thought he did a really good job, as he always does in everything. I mean, he has like his Michael B. Jordan thing that he does, but it's very good.
So?
I think so. I mean, he can, I don't know, because I think we talked, last week about Forrest Whitaker, how he sort of like, melts into each individual role, and he doesn't have one like Forrest Whitaker thing. It's not like a Samuel L. Jackson thing. That was what we were talking about last week. Whereas Michael B. Jordan, he kind of has that thing, but it's still good. I think. I mean, maybe
okay.
I'm wrong. But
I think he's great. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, put him in everything. At this time, I think Tessa Thompson was pretty new, at least new to the mainstream.
I'd never seen her anything.
I don't think I had either, which is hard to remember because just a few years later, now she's in everything.
Yeah, she's in Thor, right?
Yep, she's one of the Valkyries in Thor Ragnarok. She's going to be in the Men in Black reboot,
she's in
sequel.
else too that we saw.
Sorry to bother you. She was good in that. And, of course, Sylvester Stallone reprising the role as Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he did a great job. He hadn't played Rocky since 2006's Rocky Balboa, which was a very solid movie. If you remember that one where he was estranged from his son and he kind of tries to get back into it even though it was an exhibition fight.
Yep.
I think Stallone jumped right back in like no time had passed. Like you believe you're just picking up with this character years down the line.
Yeah.
What did you think of the villain of the story? Just like last week, there's not really a better word for it.
Right, yeah, and just like with Southpaw, it's not that there's, well, I mean, with Southpaw more so there was a villain because there was something more that was going on aside from just the fighting. Whereas, like, in this one, the villain isn't really a villain at all. He's just a guy that is a fighter and he's just trying to make some money.
Yeah. I liked how honest they were about the making money aspect of it because Ricky Conlan's, the character's name, is going away to jail. This is more likely than not his last pro fight. It's his last chance to get a big purse for his family to have.
Yeah.
They're the ones who approach Rocky and Apollo, or not Apollo, Adonis, when it comes out that he's Creed's son, and they want to make money off his name, which is why Stallone doesn't want him to take the fight, but it's exactly why Donnie does want to take the fight.
Right.
I like that angle of it, how honest they were about the money thing. No one was duped. There was no unnecessary twist ending. This movie kind of took away the underdog aspect of it, since Adonis didn't need to be fighting. How did you feel about that?
I thought it was an interesting take, to have a rich kid wanting to fight versus, like the typical stereotype that's a poor kid, from bad area or something, and he wants to fight to get out of that, whereas, like you said earlier, Michael B. Jordan's character, Adonis, had no reason to wanna fight. He didn't want for anything. It wasn't,
there was no necessity into it.
Right, yeah. Just other than that he wanted to.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an obvious way to break the trope, but I thought it was good, and I thought it was a welcome change because every fight movie follows the same formula. Okay, getting down to the fight aspects of the movie, how did you feel about Michael B. Jordan's transformation to be a boxer? How did you feel about the choreography, the training? We talked a lot about Jake Gyllenhaal looking like he really knew the footwork, he really knew the pad work, he obviously put in the time at the gym.
Yeah, and I think the same goes for this movie too. I really feel like Michael B. Jordan put in the time. Obviously, I'd never seen him. Before this was the first movie I had seen him in. I've seen him in other things now, but this was the first thing that I saw him act in. So prior to that, I didn't really have any thought to whether like he looked like a fighter or not. I mean, he could have been in shape before, probably was. I don't know, but he really did look like he was in fighting shape for this movie. So I really feel like he must have been putting in a ton of work at the gym, and he really also did look like he knew, he knew his stuff too. He knew his footwork, he knew his pad work. Just like with Southpaw, I really feel like, movies are doing kind of like a responsible thing by having them actually
They care
train.
about every aspect. They want it to look as authentic as possible.
Details, yeah.
I agree too. Do you know if Tony Bellew, Bellew, that's who played Ricky Conlon. Have you heard that name? Is he an actual fighter?
I'm not sure. I mean, he could be.
Because I think the guy who Adonis fights in the beginning and loses his car to, when he's in the gym.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that was somebody who was like,
he was an actual
boxer.
fighter.
I'm not sure though. I'm less, a boxing fan and more of an MMA fan. But
sure.
I would know more boxers' names than I wouldn't. But I've never heard of him. He might just be an actor.
Because he did a pretty solid job, too.
He did a solid job, though. You could fool me until, if he wasn't a boxer, you could fool me and say, oh, this guy's a boxer, and I would be like, okay, yeah.
He almost looked more of a realistic heavyweight where he wasn't completely chiseled, where Adonis, I mean, even the name Adonis, he's a Greek god.
Some heavyweights are pretty...
Some are, yes, but some of the boxing heavyweights I've seen, they clearly look like they hit the gym, but they're not pro bodybuilder look either. All right, any final closing thoughts? We'll keep it short, get to the point.
Well, I thought it was a really great movie. I thought it was in keeping with the Rocky franchise and that it did a lot of the same things, but it also put its own spin on it. It's a great fight movie, inspirational, with the montage and everything. That's always the most inspirational part of the movie, save for the end. Yeah, I feel like it hit all the marks. I feel like the acting was great. Soundtrack was good.
There's one thing that I think everyone is going to think about when they think about Creed, and that is the really strange montage of the ATVs and the dirt bikes.
Well, that's true.
Okay, because
the beginning of it, the beginning of that montage was very, inspirational. Like, oh yeah, he's working out all this stuff. That was an interesting choice. But I'd read something, actually, I forget where it was, I forget who wrote it, so I apologize for that. But I remember reading it after the movie came out because we were talking about it and saying, don't you think that's a little strange?
Yeah.
And the person who was writing it, really should have looked this up before we started, but he said something to the effect of, in Philadelphia that's a thing that people do. It's like its own scene, that's its own thing.
Sure.
So people really do that.
This movie, more than I remember in the original Rocky movies, all of them, really wanted to give Philadelphia its due in the movie. They really... I mean, of course, Rocky had the iconic scenes on the steps and the statues, and of course his statue, which comes later on, which they did feature in this movie, which is a nice blending of the real world and this alternate world. It was still felt a little strange, though, even though I know that's a thing. They go and get Philly cheesesteaks. Of course, everyone knows a Philly cheesesteak is a big deal. They had the Philly slang in there. Didn't really do the Philly accent so much, which, sorry, people from Philadelphia, but I was happy with that.
Well, I mean, I think, you can also have, a blend of people in Philadelphia. Like in New York City, maybe not everybody's from there, and et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. Okay. Fair point. All right, we got a little off tangent on the actual movie of Creed, but I know that montage scene sticks out to a lot of people because it was a big moment. Something we didn't get into was the whole side story with Rocky, and this is going to be spoiler-filled, but the movie's 4 years old at this point. Did you think Rocky's cancer prognosis was good, bad, necessary, unnecessary?
I don't think it was unnecessary. I think it was a really, I don't want to say it was sad, because obviously he did not die. But it was something that helped to connect him with Adonis, like on a deeper level.
More of a human connection
Yeah,
than a
more
trainer
of like a, right.
or
Well,
obligation connection.
I mean, maybe I'm only speaking for myself, but your trainers are really some of your best friends, you know. When
See, that's
doing
insight I
anything.
don't have. I've never had that.
But yeah, I mean, it's
mentor
definitely,
kind of
at least they should be. If they're not, you're doing something wrong, I think. You know, I think your trainer should be like one of your best friends. But, you know, in this movie, Rocky didn't really know much of Adonis. They never knew each other. They never met each other before. So it's not like they're friends and they've been training together and all of a sudden, you know, Adonis says, hey, I want to fight. Oh, okay, I'll train you. It's different than that because they never knew each other. So this was kind of like throwing them into the situation where it can be kind of awkward because between a trainer and a fighter is kind of like an intimate relationship. You know, because you see the fighter kind of at their worst. Yeah, I don't want to do this. Like, it's really hard for me to do this. I don't feel like it today. And, you know, you kind of have to, sometimes you have a little bit of shouting match with your trainer. Sometimes. But, yeah, so what I was getting to was that they'd never met each other. They didn't have that original relationship, so it helped to connect them to one another on a stronger level. Because I think it was alluded to in the movie, you know, I think Sylvester Stallone's character said something exactly like, oh, you know, if I'm going to help you, you're going to have to help me, or whatever. Maybe Adonis said that. If
Adonis says it.
Me, I'm gonna help
because
you.
Rocky had no interest in getting treatment. He was
Right,
like, my
yeah.
wife's gone, my best friend's gone, my life has passed me by, I had my time. And he says, okay, I'm not doing the fight. And then it became the tagline kind of thing was, you fight, I fight.
Right, okay, yep, so that was it.
Yeah.
So they kind of bonded over that and were able to help each other, you know, really.
I thought it was good to give Stallone something to do because Stallone, it's easy to parody the guy, but really he is self-made, he is incredible.
Yeah,
I
In
like
real life,
the depth
he
they
is,
gave him,
Yep.
Well, his real life mimics Rocky because no one wanted to hire the guy, so he created a character. He created this world, and obviously history speaks for itself. Sorry, we keep looking down. Our camera's blanking. Hopefully it didn't drop. Okay, well, just in case the camera is dropping, once again, I'm Adam.
And I'm Jackie.
We're with So Wizard Podcast. Thanks for checking it out. Please subscribe. We're going to keep doing these every couple weeks, so thanks again. Bye.